If Anthony Joshua doesn't knock him out in the first round, he should be ashamed of himself.
Have you heard any updates from where Tyson's at?
That fight will happen in 2026.
People are saying that he potentially doesn't deserve this shot.
It's one of those huge Las Vegas fights.
I don't know who was filming him during the operation. It was a bit strange.
I think he should retire, personally.
It's like a little gnat, you know, and just, I don't think he has the personality for this game.
Hello and welcome to Clubhouse Boxing. I'm Charlotte Daly, I'll be your host, and I'm joined by the Matchroom duo of Eddie Hearn and Frank Smith. How are you guys doing?
Good, very well, thank you.
Very good, very good.
Why it has to be a duo now.
So we are 50-50.
Yeah, but I feel like
what you're
I'm
doing,
adding so
you're
much
getting
value
upset.
to you by saying we're a duo.
Yeah, but I feel like
What
you're
you
getting
should
very
say is,
emotional.
I'm with head honcho Eddie Hearn and his assistant, or something like that, or his protege is more respectful.
You're getting very emotional because people are starting to give like a bit more credit to me, where it's like
because I'm giving you. I don't want to have to do all of the menial stuff, so I'm giving it to you.
You've never done any menial stuff.
Oh, listen, of course I have, but now you get to do it, and it's good. But you're getting a lot more credit, which is what I want.
Thanks, mate.
You know.
It's been all of about 30 seconds. You two are
Sorry, back over.
Look, we're obviously in Monaco for an unbelievable card on the weekend. We are going to get to that. But I want to start by talking about Anthony Joshua, because it is just all over the headlines at the moment, the fact that he is taking on Jake Paul, and we're only a couple of days away realistically now. I'm going to jump in with the topic that is on everyone's lips about whether this is a dangerous fight. What are you guys, what's your perspective? Do you think there is genuine danger involved in this fight?
I think absolutely. And I think that's one of the reasons why it is what it is. There's danger for everybody taking on Anthony Joshua, especially a decent cruiserweight now is what I give Jake Paul the credit. I mean, sometimes people want to call him a professional boxer. When it suits them, they want to call him a YouTuber. The reality is he is a professional boxer. He is a top 60 cruiserweight in the world. He's nowhere near world class, and he's well out of his depth against Anthony Joshua. You know, people keep saying to me, I can't remember, Talk Sport, someone yesterday said, Eddie, justify this fight. I said, it's not my job to justify this fight. I'm not the promoter. We were made an offer by MVP and Jake Paul, and we are absolutely going to accept it, and that's what we're doing. So I think Jake is wild for taking the fight, but I think he does believe he can win. You know, you got Roy Jones, Teddy Atlas the other day. Don't count him out in this fight, which I just think is absolutely ludicrous, unless we're going to get proved wrong on December 19th. But for me, this is a straightforward bank job, and it's just going to allow AJ to gel with his new team, go out. You know, of course, the profile's fantastic, the money's great, and then normal business will be resumed in 2026.
I think I agree with that. Like, for AJ, I think make as much money as you can while you can. No problems with that whatsoever. I don't think it dents his legacy like people are talking about.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing that definitely will dent the legacy. So, you know.
But it's more from the Jake Paul side of things. Like, Usyk was saying the other day that there is a possibility that Jake Paul could die in the ring. If that is a real possibility, shouldn't somebody be stepping in to stop him from getting into the ring?
Yeah, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, like I said, he is a professional fighter. I mean, I think the other thing that people don't really acknowledge is if you look at his sparring for this fight, you saw it the other day, Jared Anderson, Lawrence Okoli, Frank Sanchez. He's doing 6, 8, 10 rounds with those guys. These guys are massive punchers. Like, I know it's not 10-ounce gloves, but you're still taking shots. It's not like it's just some random guy that's going in and feeling the power of Anthony Joshua. So, yeah, I think, look, Jake's going to do what Jake's going to do. I can't speak on his behalf. I can't justify his decisions. But he's taking this fight because he thinks he's going to win. That's the crazy thing about it.
Daniel Dubois' former trainer, Don Charles, is said to apparently be going over to help Jake Paul in the build-up to this fight. Frank, do you think there's any way that that kind of game plan could help aid Jake going into it?
He's going to need everything he can get. You know, he's got the sparring, as Eddie said. If he's got a new trainer in the camp, he's got about 30 trainers already in his camp. He takes it very seriously. But AJ's going in there to destroy him. You know, it's worlds apart. It's 2 different levels. So you can bring in a trainer for 5 weeks, 4 weeks, but I don't think that's gonna get him the win come the 19th of December.
What do you think is actually going to happen when they step into the ring, though? Because, I mean, I spoke to David Hay and Johnny Nelson yesterday, and they were kind of joking and saying that Jake's best tactic is just to hug him and hope for the best.
Yeah.
What do you think he?
Yeah, I think they're definitely gonna have a game plan. I mean, they're not a camp of idiots. Like, there are some very knowledgeable people in the boxing camp with him. So I would think, I mean, if I was putting a strategy together for Jake Paul, it would be just, you know, move as much as you can. When you get close, you have to clinch and clinch hard. But the problem is, when you clinch with someone the size of AJ, when you break the clinch, or, you know, you can get hit in the clinch, and that's enough to end the fight. If he is even remotely adventurous in the fight, or remotely positive, Jake Paul, he runs the risk of walking onto something. It's a bit like Francis Ngannou. You know, Francis Ngannou came out game and got dropped twice in the first round and poleaxed in the second. So if Jake Paul wants to be aggressive, that could, I mean, but the reality is, as soon as he gets hit clean on the chin, the fight's over.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, the word is that he is a little bit hard to hit, and, you know, he's awkward because he's probably not as orthodox as a fighter that's been doing it since he was 8 years old. So I think the more rounds they feel they can survive, the better. I mean, you're going to have people saying to him in camp, AJ's only had 5 weeks, 6 weeks camp. Like, you know, he could gas after 4 rounds, or his chin's not the same as what it was, or he hasn't got any confidence, or these are the kind of things that you can gas up the fighter with to sort of give him that belief. Teddy Atlas said, and he is true, he said, the reason I don't count out Jake Paul is because I don't believe he'd make this bigger mistake, because everything they've done so far, the chess moves have been very calculated. But sometimes, like when a fight falls through against Gervonta and you need to do something, sometimes you make a bad decision. And we will only know on December 19th if it's how bad of a decision that was. And that comes with how badly he's going to get knocked out.
Do you think there's any world in which AJ pulls back, though?
No, absolutely. He couldn't do that as a fighter. Like, you can't, the way that AJ fights, it's just, it's all out. It's like, he would be incapable of going in there and holding back. By the way, you know, when people say, I get so many people can't speak, yeah, but it's obviously scripted, isn't it? I'm like, no. One, that's illegal. I mean, this is a professional contest with betting, everything. Two, we would never sign up to anything that's going to make AJ look bad or devalue him, lose rounds, go loads of rounds. I mean, I think the only thing that's a bit harsh is if Anthony Joshua doesn't knock him out in the first round, he should be ashamed of himself. I'm like, bye, give us 2, like, or 3. Because if Jake does move, it might, you know, he can look after himself, Jake. It's not like he's just going to get one shot round the arm and go on the floor. He's a tough guy.
My question with that, though, the scripted stuff, obviously it can't be scripted because it's a sanctioned professional fight, but it's sanctioned in Florida and they tend to have the lax rules out of kind of all of the commissioning bodies.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't allow it to happen because you can bet on the fight as well.
No, not that it would be scripted, but more the fact that they're allowing it to happen. Does it just mean the bigger your stardom is, the more the rules?
No, let's be on, like, this isn't, let's forget the YouTuber stuff. This isn't like, you're talking about a top 10 heavyweight, which is what AJ is at the moment. I think he's top 5, but just for the sake of, you know, people, top 10 heavyweight taking on a top 60 cruiserweight, right? AJ was going to fight Cassius Chaney last week, who I think is ranked 100 or 90 odd in the world at heavyweight. So, like, people will say, well, that was a mismatch as well. I think it's a mismatch, but it's not like, I think it's a close call one. I don't think it's an 8-round contest. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes, Charlotte, we see fights on undercards where sort of younger fighters coming through, you've seen it 100 times, where it's like the other guy has absolutely no chance. That's what I think this is as well. If it was like a 12-round championship fight and we're dressing it up as, but we're looking at this as a run out, like we would run out AJ in an 8-rounder, what we were going to do in Saudi. So, yeah, I do think it's a borderline call.
It wouldn't be sanctioned in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the reality. Florida probably are one of the, amongst a few, 2 or 3 other states that would allow it. But I don't think if you tried to do it in the UK, the British Boxing Board of Control, as an example, would allow it.
No, no. But it's even like Jake Paul was gonna fight Tank, and that was meant to be in Atlanta, and they wouldn't sanction it. So then they came to Florida. So it's
They
just
made it an exhibition.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, I think I didn't like that fight because here you have got a guy stepping up one division. You've got a cruiserweight that can fight a bit, but that was a 135-pound guy fighting a 200-pound guy.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be a 225 guy fighting a 245 guy. It's just, as far as we're concerned, the gulf in levels is, you know, the difference.
Frank, I saw your interview the other day where you were talking about the deal being made for this, and you said that it isn't actually AJ's highest payday, it's his second highest.
I said up there. He said which number is. I said it's up there, it's amongst there. But definitely for the challenge that he's got, you know, he's facing a guy who's really not on his level. You know, so in comparables to whether he was fighting Usyk or Andy Ruiz in those big fights, you know, all the big fights he's had over the years, it's a huge amount of money for a fight against a guy who hasn't been tested anywhere near the level, you know, and that's why we took it, because it was a huge opportunity.
How did putting this fight on go down with Turkey? Because I know AJ was meant to be on that Riyadh card, and it was all going to be this special kind of secret that was revealed on the night that he was fighting. How did it go down when you had the conversation?
I think that was one of, like, we didn't have anything officially confirmed with him or contracted. So, but at the same time, because of the relationship and because of how good he's been to Anthony, I didn't want to progress with the fight until I'd spoken to Turkey. Turkey's biggest problem with Jake Paul and that whole thing is the exhibition stuff. He hates it. He's like, if you want to fight, just fight. Like, and that, because that was what we're doing, I think he was more at ease with it. Once I sat down and told him the plan, what it would do for Anthony, the exposure that it would give him, the money that was on the table as well. He's a pretty straight up guy. He's like, I understand, you have to take it, but please don't do an exhibition. I said, I promise you, we would never do an exhibition. And then, by the way, normal business is resumed and we're back in Riyadh in 2026 and hopefully landing the Tyson Fury fight. So once he knew that it was a real fight, I think he was quite excited because he's like, okay, we can get rid of this guy.
How does the money for this compare to the money for the Tyson Fury fight?
It's not a million miles away, in all honesty. The Fury fight is a bigger fight financially, but it's pretty close, you know. And like Frank said, I mean, he has had a couple of astonishing paydays in his career, and this is right up there with them. And for the size of the challenge, that's really what you always have to look at. You know, there isn't a man alive that wouldn't have accepted this fight in AJ's position. And he's not, you know, he's never been that guy to kind of do quirky stuff either. Like, I remember when I even offered him the Ngannou fight before Fury boxed him, and he was like, no, I'm not, like, you know, and then he nearly beat Fury, and then he was like, okay, he's credible, let's do it. So, but this was just too, like, everything aligned with the timing. Because he said to me when I went to see him recently, he's like, I'd really like just to run out, you know, with a new team, just like wrap my hands, go in there, just stop someone and then move into a real fight. Because every time I go into a real fight, the pressure's on. You know, I've just got beat by Dubois in front of 90,000, and that was 14 months ago. Like, and I've got to go back into another tough fight. I'd just like to get a bit of momentum. And fortunately, this come along, and everything aligned perfectly.
Before we talk about the new team, where are we at with that Fury fight? Because I know AJ and you guys, Matchroom, have signed your terms, right? Have you heard anything, any updates from where Tyson's at, whether he's signed anything? Or...
You want to speak? Because you haven't said a lot.
I mean, it's kind of the story of my life.
No,
to
but
be honest.
I feel bad because obviously,
if
this podcast is going to do numbers, they need
you to talk. I agree.
But at the same time, I just want you to sit there.
No, but I quite like sitting here listening. You're very good at it, to be honest. You're the best out there. So that fight, I mean, it's very close. It's very close. That's the fight everyone wants to make. You know, obviously Tyson Fury needs to make a return to boxing. He's currently retired, but all of the talk seems to be moving in the right direction that fight will happen in 2026. It's a fight that we've spoken about for such a long time. It's the fight AJ wants. It's the fight we all want to make happen. So fingers crossed we can do it. It's not completely done yet, but let's see.
I know obviously you guys are on the other side of the fence, so probably not necessarily one for you, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you know whether he has plans to have a run out or anything in particular before the September fight?
I would think so.
Yeah.
You know, again, I'm not part of Tyson's deal, but I would think so. I mean, he's going to have been out for well over a year as well. So you want both guys to go into the fight in that absolute full pomp, you know, active, confident, and I would guess that he would be looking for a fight, you know, spring, wherever. But you know, that's up to those guys.
Talk about confidence there. AJ obviously took a bit of a confidence hit after the Daniel Dubois fight. I saw you speaking about it before, saying that people maybe don't actually realise how much that affected him and how kind of devastated he was with that loss. Mentally, kind of how low did he get after the Daniel Dubois
Well, you'd
fight?
never really know, because, as you know, as is a problem with these kind of situations, is there's always a front, you know, and AJ's always been very good at having that front. Like when he lost to Ruiz, I was with him the next day with his friend. Like you would have known he lost, but oh, you know, we go again, you know. But I knew how much that hurt him. Afterwards, once we realised why he wasn't really performing in camp and he had some medical issues, that kind of soothed the pain, if you want. The Usyk defeat, particularly number 2, was really hard for him to take, because he'd given so much in that. Like he wanted to win so bad, and he felt like he prepared so well, and it was more a frustration that he couldn't beat Usyk. The Dubois fight was different. You know, that was a tough defeat, and that was one where he had to show a lot of resilience, keep getting up. But you know, he got flattened in front of the world, and it's just that he's a winner, and he gives so much to his career and his preparation that he's more devastated with not the fact that he lost, but the fact that he put in all that work and he wasn't good enough to win. And it took him a while. Like, I think the injury was a big problem. He had it going into the fight, but he was still in amazing shape. Like, we're never going to say that we had problems, because we didn't in that fight. He was in a great place, but he walked onto one in the first round, and that was really, you know, he tried to recover. He was very brave, but I think he just needed to find himself a little bit after that defeat. He kept having the problem with the injury, so every time he goes back to camp, then he had an operation, and you know, you need to give people like that time, and that's why it wasn't like, come on, let's get back in the gym. It's like, look, you take your time, and he's the kind of guy who'll tell you when he's ready. He's not going to come back before he's ready. And the finding of the Usyk team, where he's training now, was just kind of by a little bit of chance, but maybe just that little bit of freshness that he needed.
Yeah, we saw him sat ringside. I can't remember which Saudi event it was, but he was sat with Team Usyk and Usyk himself. Was that kind of where it all started, the idea of them linking up together?
I think he's always had a good relationship with the team around Usyk, and always liked and respected Usyk, even around those 2 fights he had. And I think they've been talking for many years and stayed in contact. You know, Usyk's got a tremendous team around him. And yeah, I think those discussions just kept bubbling on. As Eddie said, he's always someone who wants to learn and progress and get better and better in the sport. And I think when you look at him as well, he's had like 13 years of a whirlwind non-stop career, where he's never had a break from the sport, even from the Olympics, then on to what he did, what he went to do to become unified world champion, you know, twice do that. And I think the break and this new start really is going to be key for him, and you're going to see so many improvements.
We spoke to Carl Froch and Dillian White about AJ and linking up with Team Usyk, and they both said the same thing, that they thought that the best AJ was under Rob McCracken, and they've said that that was his biggest mistake, was leaving Rob. Do you think there's ever a world, or was there ever a conversation of him returning to Rob at any point?
I don't know. I mean, that was a long time ago. I mean, what Rob did with AJ was incredible. They went on a great journey together. AJ's always trying to evolve and improve. So sometimes he wants to add different elements to his game, rightly or wrongly. I mean, but that's him. He's very inquisitive. He's very curious at ways to improve. And I think, you know, with the Rob McCracken thing, obviously, you know, bringing other trainers in and stuff like that, sometimes that's just a part of that drift. And those guys split amicably. You know, it was they were amazing together. But that was a long time ago. You know, you're talking back in, you know, 2020 or whenever that was, 5 years ago or so. So, you know, I think that people are always quick to trying to find ways and solutions. I think AJ has improved so much as an all-round fighter. I do think, yeah, I agree with those guys back then. I mean, when he was fighting back then, like when he fought Dillian and people like that, he didn't really know what he was doing. He was just going in there with brute force and speed and kind of natural ability, and he's evolved a lot as a fighter. And I think going into the Usyk camp, one thing, having spoken to him in the camp, is they're working him to the bone. And he's like phoning me up going, mate, I can't, you wouldn't believe. And I saw a video the other day, he's kind of hitting the bag, and I don't know how long it was, 25 minutes, 30 minutes straight, just punching the bag. And he's kind of turned to his strength guy and gone, oh, can you just get like, and I joked with him, I said, well, you're catching a break there, because that's the kind of thing I'd do. Oh yeah, hang on a minute, let me just, and as he done that, you just heard in the background, AJ, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, back to the bag. And sometimes when you become so big, you start calling the shots. And that's one of the worst things that you can do.
Yeah.
And I think going back into this environment, it's very militant. It's very, authoritarian. It's like, this is, be quiet and do your work. And I think maybe that's a good thing for him at this stage of his career.
Beneficial. You said about he's evolved a lot, and I think anyone who's watched AJ from the start to kind of now knows that. What's your favourite kind of part of AJ? Like, if you had to think of his career and the way that he's evolved, what's your favourite style of AJ or part of him?
Well, I think that as you learn more about the game, you do become a little bit of a deeper thinker, because life changes. And so, back in the day where he wasn't really thinking about what he was doing, he was just going in there and to destruct and destroy. They were very exciting times, but he was doing that with a lot of weaknesses and vulnerability of getting hit when he was just, going for the stoppage. So I actually like the the Ruiz 2 fight will always go down for me as one of the special nights, because there was so much pressure on that fight. So much pressure, and I thought he boxed absolutely punch perfect. People say, oh, Andy Ruiz came in out of shape. Andy Ruiz always comes in out of shape, but what he did that night was he won every round and he boxed to a game plan. And it was actually the first time where I feel like he's really boxed to that game plan, and really sensibly and smartly. So yeah, that, obviously the nights with Klitschko and Dillian Whyte, the early nights, the Dillian Whyte night will always be a really special night, because that was just wild. And back then, like I said, he didn't really know not what he was doing, but he was just so raw. And, he was great to watch back then, as he is now. He's still one of the most fearsome punchers and most exciting fighters in the world.
Look, obviously he's got this fight coming up. Then there's the talk of the Fury fight in September. There was something around him coming back kind of March or April time for another fight. Fans really want to know who that will be and what sort of level that will be. Usyk has said that he wants to fight Deontay Wilder next. And Wilder has said that he's interested in that fight, but he said that he actually has plans for 2026 already. Would AJ be part of those plans that Deontay Wilder's talking about at all?
I don't know. I mean, I think if we've got the Fury fight signed, it's very difficult to start. I don't think Turkey will want to mess around too much. He'll want to fight someone. It's got to be a real fight. It's not going to be Jake Paul 2. Well, hopefully not. We don't have a rematch clause. That could be a problem. So, yeah, I think it would be someone that would just, like, for both of them, I think someone that's always going to come with some danger, but just someone, like I said, that would gear them up for, being in their absolute prime for the biggest fight in boxing.
Another topic is Conor Benn for the winner of Barrios and Ryan Garcia. What do you make of that? That's a tasty one.
Spot. I mean, I feel like that's a fight that would have happened anyway without him becoming mandatory. When we was in Saudi Arabia, His Excellency said, I think you against the winner of that fight is massive. Ryan Garcia against Conor Benn in Las Vegas is breathtaking. I mean, the Brits would fill up the place alone. The mandatory was a blessing. I get people saying, well, should he be mandatory, shouldn't he? The reality is that he was very highly ranked already, and he just beat a top 10 middleweight in the world. So I know it wasn't at 147, but you can't ignore that fact. So yeah, I feel like Conor Benn against the winner of Garcia against Barrios is the fight that will get made, and it's a massive opportunity.
What do you think, Frank, about the fact that people are saying that he potentially doesn't deserve this shot?
Yeah, I think as Eddie said, we're coming off the back of those 2 fights against Eubank at 160. 147's always been his focus. He moved to 160 because they were 2 fights that made sense, of course. But he was always wanting to fight for the WBC world title. And he's always been very open about that. And I can understand people's views, but at the same time, that's the decision that's been made. And it's the fight he's going to do next. You know, he's going to wait for that fight. Him against Ryan Garcia. If he beats Barrios, is huge. Conor speaking Spanish in the build-up for Cinco de Mayo.
Not sure Ryan does he?
He doesn't.
No,
That's the great thing.
Yeah,
so he'll get the Mexican community behind him. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those huge Las Vegas fights. You know, huge numbers will travel across if we can make that fight. So that's the one we got to make happen.
How's the cut back down to 147?
The science says he can do it. So you have to be led by that. But now he's got to do it. You know that he's got the work ethic to do it. And I think the next, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks will be that process of just bringing his weight down. The problem was he was eating his way up to 160. And for the second fight, you saw the difference. I mean, he was never a middleweight, but he was certainly a 154-pounder in there. So now we've got to see if he can get back to 47 and do it in the right way. That's important, and we believe he can.
Talking of that second fight with Chris Eubank Jr., Chris has now put that video out on social media of him in hospital saying that he's, you know, not been well and he's not going to box again until he's 100%. What's Conor's kind of thoughts on having seen that video gone out?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult how you want to play the narrative because, you know, if you criticise it, everyone will go, oh, look, talking badly about a man. I mean, I don't know. Firstly, as I understand it, it was a colonoscopy or whatever it was called. And I don't know who was filming him during the operation. It was a bit strange. But for me, you know, I was in Dubai a couple of weeks ago in the gym where he was training. Everyone said he was training like an absolute beast. I saw him on the scales. He looked phenomenal this time on the scales. But you don't know what happened behind closed doors. I mean, Conor had some terrible problems in this camp, but we just don't, you know, even if he lost, we wouldn't be talking about it because Conor wouldn't want to talk about it. So, look, of course, everybody's health is important and we hope whatever tests he was having, hope he's okay. But ultimately, if he was really that terribly ill, what are people around him letting him do fight? I don't take much notice of that because I know that he trained hard. He was training every day. And I just feel like he was beat by the much better man. But, you know, sometimes you look for a reason why you lost rather than just going, I was beat by the much better man on the night. Conor Benn won every round and 10 seconds more in the fight. And Chris was, you know, going to get knocked out badly. So we wish him all the best. And, you know, once you agree to fight, once you go through with a fight, every fighter has problems in camp. And very few ever say anything because you've decided to go through with a fight and there should be no excuses after.
I know Chris alluded to in the build-up to the fight that he, you know, it was even a miracle he was making it to the ring because he hadn't been well. Did you guys kind of know the ins and outs of what he was referring to? Because he was referring to it, but obviously didn't disclose what it was, which is fine. He doesn't have to tell the media all about that. But did you guys know what it was?
Not a clue. Not a clue. Only when, because actually, if you watch the post-fight press conference with Chris, that's the first time I think he raised it. It was amazing. I got here, but I'm not going to make any excuses. And then obviously from there, he's posted what he's posted. But beyond that, no one had any inkling or idea of anything.
All you hear
is that he's amazing.
I'm in the shape of my. I mean, I'm trained so hard, and I know he was in unbelievable shape. You could see it.
And made the weight much better this time. Was 159 pounds. Or
you don't look at a guy like that and know that he ain't trained phenomenally hard for the fight. So, you know, I mean, how he made it to the fight, I mean, again, everything we heard was he was training like a beast and he was in phenomenal shape. And you could see it. I mean, it wasn't like he turned up out of shape. He turned up in unbelievable shape.
He said that he's not going to box again until he's 100% right. Do you think he should box again anyway?
I think he should retire, personally. I mean, at the stage of his life, he's 36 years old, coming on to 37. He's made a heck of a lot of money. You know, he's obviously got his twins on the way, his kids on the way. So I think he's in a position where he should retire. And they're only going to be very, very hard fights at 168 if he moves up to 168.
I just think it'll be tough for him to retire off the back of that. Do you know what I mean? Because it was such a drubbing. And, you know, well or not well, however you want to dress it up, it's a tough one to bow out on because of the rivalry. Do you know what I mean? But I agree with Frank. And I said that going in. I think that first fight, people aren't giving Conor the credit for the second fight anyway. But he actually needs more credit, Conor, for the first fight because that's what broke Eubank down. And I said going into this fight, he won't be the same fighter. And Conor said, I took his soul in that fight. That's what he said in the build-up, and he was 100% right. So Eubank loves money, and if there's the carrot dangled, I think he's always going to be thinking about it. But look, he's got, you know, his health's important, his life's important. He's got kids on the way. You know, he's done very well. I think
he still wants that Canelo fight, and he still thinks that Canelo fight can
he's
happen.
so far off that level, you know, and that's what I said going in. It was only the weight that was making this fight competitive. Conor is so much better than Eubank as a pound-for-pound fighter, technically, like everything. And Canelo against Eubank Jr. is a mismatch. So I think that one has sailed. I do think once upon a time that could have worked in the UK, but off the back of that performance, and now you're saying I'm ill, I've got all this. People are going to say, look, mate, that should be your lot.
Yeah. Ben Whittaker, obviously knockout highlight reel on the weekend just been. Obviously, it was fantastic performance. I think Ben is a great talent, great British talent as well. DAZN have been saying that he needs to be the one to kind of fill the void that when the AJs and even Fury, I know he's retired, but potentially coming back, when they all walk away, that British boxing needs a star. Is he that guy?
Yeah, I mean, I think the two guys right now, the standout guys, don't forget, he's the same age as Conor Benn. Conor Benn's still young, and he's massive, Conor Benn, right now. So Conor Benn and Ben Whittaker, I think, are the two absolute standout talents with that personality and the ability. You got, I mean, guys like Moses Talma and so many other great fighters, but these are the guys that socially, digitally do monstrous numbers, and they also interact with that casual fan base. And that's, no one will ever replace AJ, I don't think, in terms of the draw. But that's when you become a huge name. That's what you do. You reach out to a whole different audience outside of boxing. And right now in British boxing, tell me two guys that are bigger than Ben and Ben Whittaker for doing that. Obviously, Eubank is still, you know, he's very good at that, but he's 36 and done. So those two, for me, you know, the shining lights.
You said a while ago to me when we were talking about Anthony Joshua that you could sail off into the sunset and retire when AJ retires. Now that you've got those two, are you starting to think actually?
Not just those. I love to see people do well, and I love to see people achieve their dreams and change their life. And I love boxing. And it's, you know, I really hope that I'm not a Bob Arum or a Frank Warren or, you know, at 70 odd or 90 odd and still there. But if you love what you do, why would you leave? And I love what I do. I mean, it's a blessing to be traveling around the world every week on all these massive shows, but it's a blessing to be working with these great fighters and just being a small part of this buzz, you know, and giving more to Frank now, apart from the speaking. And, you know,
I mean, I don't really get a chance, do I?
Yeah, but what?
Let's be completely honest.
No, but
you know, I get compared to you, but you know, I can barely get a couple of words in.
Yeah, but that's, I think, you know, you're getting better on the speaking, but I've got to give you more of an opportunity to do it. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give more of the limelight to Frank and let him take the reins of boxing.
Limelight.
Yeah, but at the same time, I love it. I love it, and I'm so hands-on on so many different things. Not necessarily around the, you know, logistics and stuff like that, but the boxing. Yeah. That's where I want to focus on, trying to build our global stable of talent into great fighters, and we've got such an amazing roster from top to bottom. It's never been seen before, and I'm more motivated than ever right now, and so is AJ. So for now, we're good.
He'll be doing it till he's 70.
Probably. Yeah, I was about to say.
You won't get rid of him.
Probably.
Yeah, we'll play the tapes back when you're 70. Yeah. And
still talking.
Yeah.
Still trying to get a word in.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I won't
Frank will be gone.
Trust me,
Frank's not a boxing man. He's like, he can't wait to leave.
Look, one guy who loves to rip it all to shreds, though, Ben Shalom. He always has a lot to say about Matchroom, specifically about you, really, at the moment. That feud is just ongoing, isn't it?
Yeah, I would do the same if I was Ben. Like, I mean, it's hard not to sound sort of arrogant, but it's like, when you talk about, I mean, the levels between Jake Paul and AJ still don't represent the levels between Matchroom and Boxer or me and Ben Shalom. So, but I would be doing the same thing if I was him. You know, you got the state that they're in now. When you're having those kind of strategy meetings, it's like, what are we going to do? You know, we single-handedly killed boxing on Sky Sports and got booted
Not
off the
us.
platform.
Not us,
No,
boxer.
box.
Just to
No, but
clarify.
I'm talking about the boxer strategy meetings, right?
Just wanted to make that clear. Though.
Every fighter they represent wants to leave right now. Obviously, the Eubank's just lost. You know, I watched the BBC stuff's great. I watched the production of it. There's no money involved in those shows, so we've got to. What can we do? Let's have a pop at Eddie Hearn. You know, that's what I mean. That's what I did when I started. But we're very different people, as he says. You know, and some people have just got it, and some people haven't. And I listen to him, and it's tough. You know, he's not. It's not really. I don't think it's really for him. I don't think he has the personality for this game and this role, but he's done well. You know, he got that contract in the first place. I know he lost it, but he still got it. And he's got shows on BBC, which, you know, I know financially it's very hard to make it work, but I don't take anyone lightly, but you have to kind of look at those kind of people and just sort of go, it's like a little gnat, you know, and just, and you know, just focus on what you're doing.
Did you watch the BBC production? What did you think?
Again, I don't want to sound like, but it's levels. But that's not the fault. The money involved in the production, you know, the money involved in the production for one of our shows is 3-4 times what they've spent on the production for that. So you're going to get what you pay for. It wasn't that with what they're spending, it was awful. It was just awful in comparison to what we do.
I mean, even Simon Jordan said it, who's a big fan of theirs, obviously, and supporter of theirs. He said it himself. So it's easy for us from our position to maybe say it, and people have a view on us, you know, being jealous, mate, or whatever. But for Simon's sake, it's kind of telling of the reality.
Mate.
My mate. Actually, do you know what? You've become quite close with him, and he's sort
been
of
calling me lately.
Yeah.
Like I've been sort of like he's been going, like, you know, we've been having a few chats.
And now he hates me.
Still don't like you. But
No,
I told him to carry that on.
What's Simon calling you about?
When I was on recently, he won't mind me saying, but we actually had a really good debate and chat, and he just called me after and he said, look, I know that I'm quick to criticise, but I'm also quick to praise. I thought you spoke really well today. It was nice to have you on. And I thought I was like welling up, you know. But I respect, like, at least with Simon, sometimes he gets carried away. I think he's very good at what he does. If he can be like that, then I don't have a problem with it. If you disagree with something, I have no problem debating it with you. Doesn't mean I think you're right, but you're entitled to your opinion. But as long as it's balanced, and he's shown that, and again, his comments about Boxer, he's been very, very positive about Ben Shalom and Boxer over you know, maybe too positive, and now he's criticising them. Yeah. So yeah, as long as it's balanced, and the fact that he's having a go at Frank Smith has made me like him even more. And it's good for him.
He's very good at what he does. Yeah, though. He is very good. He's divisive character.
It's good for you.
Oh, no, no, that's just what I need with someone else. Yeah, it's someone with you, him, you know, if I lost, I would have done well.
Talking of promoter rivalry, actually, Nikisa, you're obviously, you know, AJ's fighting on an MVP card. Are you going to be allowed to the dressing room?
I think so. We're all right now. We were all right for Taylor Serrano 3. Not all right at all for Taylor Serrano 2, which was on Netflix. But we're okay now. I mean, we did good business here. So I've always been, even throughout the Warren battles, the Aram, Leonard Ellaby, Oscar, they've all had a go. I've never lost my rag. I mean, actually, I lost it a bit with him on Netflix because I couldn't believe however I feel about someone, if you come to my show, and especially if you've got a fighter in the main event, you're open with welcome arms. We'll never stop you going into changing rooms or won't give you a seat with the... it's just not something we do. So I felt like we felt a little bit disrespected in that front. It won't happen this time. But it's their show. This isn't our show. Yeah. And we're happy just to turn up, get paid, knock him spark out and go home. That's it. We don't want to run the show. We don't want to be involved. We don't want to have to justify it. We're just going to do a job, you know?
Talking about Katie Taylor, what's all this news about Ronda Rousey and a potential fight? Is that actually a legitimate thing?
I mean, we haven't had any conversation. I know Brian, her manager, you know, he speaks to a lot of people, and I get the narrative of it, you know. And again, Katie's at that stage in her career now. She's coming to the end. Whether she fights again at all, I don't know. But, you know, obviously someone's had a conversation. I don't think there's any major legs in it at the moment at all.
Yeah, I think she said she woke up to seeing the headlines and was hilarious.
But she's like, Katie's like, I'll fight. Yeah, I mean, she'll fight anyone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Dalton Smith, potentially that fight could be back on the cards now. How is that coming to fruition? How is that being allowed?
I mean, the VADA testing, there's a limit with the New York State Athletic Commission for Ostarine, and this test was underneath that limit. So currently, the New York State Athletic Commission are allowing the fight to go ahead. The WBC are still reviewing it, but it's very likely on January 10th the fight goes ahead. Obviously, there's been additional testing put in place as well for it. We want to make sure that the fight is safe, but currently that's the plan for January 10th in New York.
Yeah. Are you happy with him stepping back into the ring with somebody that has...
I mean, it's difficult because we've had so many battles with this kind of situation before, and you always have to put the decision, as I said, in the hands of the commission. As a promoter, you can't make that decision. Contractually, we don't make that decision. Everything runs through the commission and the WBC. If the commission allows it and the WBC allows it, Dalton Smith's got really no chance. Do I agree that he should be allowed to fight? Not really, because Ostarine is a man-made substance. As I understand, there's no chance of a contamination from food, and WADA levels say 0 Ostarine. So, but Dalton's in a tough spot because if he pulls out, he loses his position, and we still think he can beat him. And as I understand it, part of this acceptance from the commission that the bout will take place will come with even more stringent testing. So at least you know that from that 6-week out period, but maybe the damage has been done or the benefits have already been absorbed. Yeah. But again, I think for us, we just have to stand by the decision of the commissions, as we always have to, and hope that they make the right one.
Yeah. Before I do let you go, I have to touch on, obviously, the card in Monaco. The sun's just coming out now. Last time I was in Monaco to watch one of your cards was 2 years ago for the Joe Cordina. Yeah. And I was telling Frank that between fights, Derek Chisora was there and he was saying, right, come on, we've got to go do some gambling in the casino and then come back and watch the boxing. For people that maybe haven't experienced what it's like in Monaco for fight nights, how special is it?
It's really unique. It's everybody's favourite fight week, firstly. Like everyone who works for us, I mean, you've experienced it before. We moved into the Salle d'Etoile here last year, which actually holds about 700. And the casino holds like, was it 100? 300. So this is a much bigger feel of an actual fight night. But the card this time is the best card we've done in Monaco by a mile. I mean, McGrail against Masood and Conor Walker against Pat McCormack, plus Johnny Fisher. Beatrice Frere against Elif Turhan is just, like, for anyone that knows boxing, is breathtaking. Sean McComb against Mikalev. That fight could sit at the O2, that card, it could sit at the Manchester Arena. And there's loads of Brits coming out. So it's a really unique experience. The fighters love it. They can't believe that they're getting a chance to experience this. And yeah, it's a 6th year, sixth year we've been doing it now. So yeah, it's a big part of the calendar.
And Matchroom party tonight, Christmas party, is it?
Every member of staff comes out early to make sure they attend the Matchroom Christmas party. We can't get them to all the shows in the UK, but they've made the trip here. There's nowhere better. I mean, look at it.
Oh, yeah, it's unbelievable. Well, look, I will let you go because I think we've got to get to the press conference. Yes. But thank you so much for joining. Really appreciated chatting to you. And if you're watching at home, please like and subscribe to the channel.